All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Newcomer Career Success, a webinar that's is being offered by Lutherwood and is funded by the Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. My name is Carlos Martins. I'm an employment specialist at Lutherwood, responsible for the mentorship program for internationally trained professionals. And today we have a very interesting webinar. We came up with this webinar with the main goal of offering a positive perspective from newcomers that achieve success here in Canada. We often see many clients that come to Lutherwood seeking for help, of course, to establish their career in Canada. And it's very common to see the frustration because they are facing barriers. Sometimes they don't get the calls from employers, or sometimes they are facing, some challenges while applying for jobs and things like that. And one thing that I had an experience, I think last year, was a client that was seeing someone, very qualified and was doing a kind of a survival job for years, and he was afraid that he was going to end up like that. And I told him, I said, listen, you don't know what's going on there, and you are responsible for your own path. So after that conversation, I thought that it would be interesting to bring here some positive stories of people that went through the same challenges, and now they have their lives and professional their careers established in Canada. So today we have the pleasure um, to have three exceptional newcomers to Canada, and successful newcomers. We have Gaida Nassar, we have Umesh Kalia, and Ming Lee to share their experience as someone new to Canada, and their experience of facing the challenges and succeeding. So let me see. Also, just to make it clear, if you have any questions, there is a box on the GoToWebinar that you can write your questions, and then we'll have a Nilufar that is also part of Lutherwood that is helping us today. She's gonna read your questions to the panelists, and hopefully you'll get your answer. Okay. All right, we have 15 people right now, and more people are coming in. And once again, welcome to our webinar. This webinar is being recorded, so at the end, I'm going to send the link to the participants in case you wanted to revisit this presentation. All right, so let's start with the introduction. So Gaida, if you can introduce yourself, and then Ming, and then Umesh.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carlos, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gaida Nassar, and I am an IT and cybersecurity professional. I've been here for 9 years, and I've been working in the banking and financial industry for all through my career. That's a very quick and brief introduction. We'll talk more in later questions.
Ming, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ming Ni, and I originally came from China, and currently I work as a global sourcing leader for Suez Water Technologies and Solutions. Our office located in Oakville. So my responsibility is negotiate and partner with suppliers to support annually maybe $300 to $500 million of contracts. Just one note, my hair glow because of the COVID. I have been locked in home, so Carlos didn't do the false advertisement on me, so it's still the same person.
All right. Umesh, go ahead.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Umesh. I've been in Canada over 17 years. Currently, I'm working as a procurement manager with the city of Vaughan. It's been 4 years with the city. Prior to that, I worked for 3 Ontario ministries: Ministry of Health, Natural Resources, and Government Services, as well as the manager for the University of Toronto for strategic sourcing. Um, I always like to reflect back on how we came to Canada and then what are the different stuff we did to make ourselves successful. So happy to share my stories with the participant.
Great, that's awesome. So let's start with I mean, a very straight to the point question. What was your first job in Canada? Let's start with Ming. Go ahead. You're muted. Ming, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. When I landed, it was like 2005, and immediately started surviving jobs because I wasn't prepared. So I went through all the temp agencies, and since it was hard to get a reference for the jobs in Canada, and I clearly remember my first job. My pay was like $6.25.
Umesh.
Yeah, same as Ming. My first job, and it's interesting you asked this question. When I reflect back, I got a little emotional because my first job in Canada was a general labor. In fact, the first one, the second, the third, the fourth, the first 6 months were all general labor in factory setting. And then afterwards, I worked as a quality technician for a company, Linamar in Guelph. It was very exciting, and now we cry river for small things. At that time, all I wanted is that somebody give me a job or somebody give me a permanent job. And then, my job involved like standing 8 hours, and I wish for that somebody would give me a stool to sit. That's where we started.
Carlos, I think you're muted.
Carlos, you're
yeah,
muted.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll take this question a few steps back, and I will say, so I am originally from Jordan, and before coming here, I was living in Kuwait. So before coming here, I established a really successful career back home and in the Middle East. So I had 8 years of experience as an IT professional, and I was, at the time before leaving to come to Canada, I was leading large programs for financial institutions in the IT field. So now it takes me to my first job. So when I first came here, I realized that it was not really easy to get a job at the same level where I was before I left my country. And like, it wasn't really easy to start as a program manager or IT project manager. So I was completely okay to start all over again. And I said, I'm fine. I will restart my career. I will push the restart button and I will start from scratch. So my first job here was a junior business analyst. After like 7, 8 years, like successful experience, I came here and restarted my career as a junior business analyst. Was my first job here.
So another question here. What was your strategy to look for a job when you came here to Canada? Were you using like the internet? Did you use like employment agencies? Ming mentioned about the staffing agencies. So Gata, if you can answer start answering this question.
Sure. So it was a mix of all tools. So my strategy was to use all the tools and the equipment that I have to land my first job. And it was like I did go to newcomers centers to help with a preparation of my resume and to prepare me for the job here. I also reached out to recruiters in the IT sector. So I was searching on the internet on all recruiters in the IT field here in Canada, and I reached out to them. Also, I tried to leverage my network, although when I first came, I didn't really have friends and family here, or close friends and families here, but I reached out to my friends back home and ask who has connections here or friends who moved here. And then through friends of friends of friends, I try to reach out and do the connection and start to establish the network. So basically all tools, like as I mentioned, internet recruiters and connections of friends from back home. So try to really leverage all sources and tools that I have.
Yeah, that's an interesting experience. I remember when I was coming before I came to Canada. I remember someone, I think I was reading on the internet, someone suggesting, listen, if you connections are very important. We are going to discuss about this in a few too, but I remember reading this, and the person wrote something like, if there is a a birthday of a dog, a birthday party of a dog, and you're invited, go for it, because you don't know who you're going to meet there. So like any opportunity that you have to connect with new people, just go, right? So that was one of the advice that I'll never forget. Umesh, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this question. I wish I had a strategy at that time. I was just going all over the place. So what I would recommend, or the steps I took and which make me successful, is number one thing that I went for the IKS assessment, which is Canadian Equivalency for Your Education. It's the International Credential Assessment Center, and there are others also. So the first thing I did is that I went for the equivalency so that my education is rated as equivalent in Canada. Second, I joined the Purchasing Management Association of Canada because that's where I belong, and then that's where I wanted to find a job in my field. And the third is the started my CPP designation program. So education is definitely important. You have to have a Canadian education if you are trying to find a job in your field. And also enrolled for part-time courses in the evening classes. In the daytime, I used to work, and then in the nighttime, I went for different colleges to upgrade my skills and courses relevant to my field. And attended free events. As Carlos mentioned, there are a number of free webinar, free events where you can go and then start building your network. So to concise, these are the different 5 steps I took which made me successful.
A question, Umesh. How important was it for you to join your you mentioned about an
Yes.
association that you are part of. How important was this for you for your success in your field here in Canada?
Yes, I think that made all the difference. That is the very first thing I did, and it helped me a lot because after joining, there at that time there was only I think $300 membership fee or something like this. Yes, you wanted to save the money, but not that place, because that gave me a platform for number of free events and to network with the people who are already established in my field. And so that I would strongly encourage, if you look for the relevant association of your field, join the association, try to understand what does it takes your job to be successful, what are the different skill set, go through the networking, and they have like number of volunteering opportunities also. So to answer your question, that made the whole difference.
Thank you. Ming.
When I hear about Umesh's story, and I was so surprised. It was mine, so similar, almost mirror. So again, actually, I'm in the same association because I'm also in the supply chain management, purchasing. But he's in the public sector. I'm in the private sector. So I had to admit when I just landed Canada, I wasn't prepared. That's the reason I spent first 2 years totally just doing whatever I can get. That was my strategy. And then 2 years after I kind of learned how things work in Canada, then I went through the same thing. I went to the newcomers center doing the career assessment, and that's where I find out my background from China in the import export quality management. Those things might be well fit to the global supply chain management. Then I tailored my resume to looking for a buyer position. Then that's how I started.
Thank you, Ming. So this question here is very interesting, and I think I want to debate a little, like a deeper this question. So I might ask more additional questions based on this question here, but at least some challenges that you have faced while looking for a job in your field and how you overcame them. So if you can list like a one or two challenges that you face and how you did to manage that. If you can share, that would be interesting. So Gada, if you can start.
Yeah, I'm smiling, Carlos, because like how many challenges we all face. Like it's not one, not two. Like I'm sure like every one of us faced so many challenges. Like I can't stop counting if I wanna count all the challenges, but I'll really focus on the most important one, which I see very common with the most newcomers to this country. So my like top challenge was you don't have Canadian experience. And we all face this, like when we first come to this country, we all face this challenge that whenever we go for an interview or we submit our resumes for recruiters, the first thing they look, oh, you don't have experience in Canada, you don't have Canadian experience. So that was my top challenge, especially in like looking for a job in my field. And honestly, how I overcame this by, as I said earlier, so I was really flexible and open to restart my career or start from any step and go down as many levels that I want to go or I can go in order to start. So whenever I heard that I did an interview or reach out to connect with a recruiter or a hiring manager and they used to say, oh, you don't have Canadian experience, I used to say, okay, why don't you give me one? There's a start for everything. Why don't you be the start for my Canadian experience? And I'm ready to start all over. Don't look at whatever is on my resume from my previous experience. Just look at me, consider me a fresh grad, just out of school, and give me like any first entry, like job and entry level job. And this is how I think overcame it by just removing the mindset that I left at this level and I need to go to this level. Just I got over that mindset and I was very flexible to start all over again. And yeah, that's one of the challenges, but I'll give opportunity for my co-panelists to talk about their challenges, but there's a lot, Carlos, like a lot of challenges.
There was a story that when we first met that you shared that I found really interesting. If you could share, I think during an interview, someone kind of discouraged you looking during the interview. If you could share that story, I found really interesting because I think as a newcomer, many people they think they're like going through the struggle. They are the only ones going through that struggles, but it's a very common to any immigrant, especially if the language, you know, your mother tongue is not English, for example. The challenge is even, you know, higher. Let's say you have the Canadian experience, you have the language barrier, cultural barriers, and so on. But if you can share these story, I think it's a very interesting story.
Yeah, it is very interesting. It was very unfortunate story, but yes, definitely I'm happy to share. So as you all know, and as Carlos mentioned, so we all have our own mother language. So like we all talk different languages. And as you can tell, I do have an accent because English is not my first language, is not my mother tongue. So my first language is Arabic. I do speak English and French, but Arabic is my language. So, and I do have accent till today. So one of my interviews, unfortunately, the interviewer said, "Oh, you're applying for a job here, and you have an accent. So how do you think that we can offer you a job while your English is broken?" And I was like, at first, I was really surprised and I was taken by shock. But then I immediately said, "Thank you very much for taking the time to interview me. But let me tell you something. English is your first language, Arabic is my first language. If you try to talk Arabic, I'm sure right now you will have accent and you will not be as fluent as English. So English is my second language, and I think that I'm doing a pretty good job that I am speaking two languages, while unfortunately you speak only one language. And like, I think he realized at that time that he was not really being open for diversity, for different backgrounds. So he immediately took it back, but I immediately left. So I said, but thank you, I just gave you my answer, but thank you very much for the opportunity, and I don't think that this is the right place for me. And I turned down like the interview and I left, because like for me, even if I'm desperate and I'm looking for a job, but I really want to be in a place that really value me as an immigrant and value my background and my culture. And I was sure that I would find different opportunity, but this was like one of the very unfortunate experiences. But like, if I would stop there, I will be discouraged and I will think, oh no, like I will never be able to. But I really had confidence, and also that, again, the mindset that it's okay because English is not my first language, and I'm sure that I can find a job. And I found, and then I got promoted, and here I am today having a successful, professional career in Canada. But yeah, that was very unfortunate, but it's just to tell that don't let the challenges stop you. Some people, unfortunately, are not really as open as we would like them to be, but that might be an exception, not the norm.
All right. Thank you, Gator, for sharing your story. Ming, go ahead. List me a one challenge or one or two that you faced that you consider like it was hard to overcome.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm sorry to hear Kaila's negative story. I'm lucky I haven't been through those moments. Seems Canada is very welcome newcomers, and I was kind of shocked to hear that story. So again, my of course first challenge when I came, the spoken language, English was a big problem because I don't speak English at all in China. I do have no writing and reading skills. So the first couple years was tough the language, and then the second biggest challenge is when you look for the job, you don't get a reference, you don't have enough network to extend that to the market. So actually, most of the strategy, most of my friends or people surrounding me, they all went back to the school to get education, University of Toronto, University of Waterloo, Guelph, and actually I did something different. So because my import-export background, and I actually started a small business myself, and I established a import-export business. And then I ran it for about 2 years, and in the end, the income wasn't enough to support the entire family. But through these 2 years of business operation, I established, I kind of learned entire process in Canada to in the business, and I also made lots of friends and network through that time. So yeah, that was my early, like, kind of turning point for me to go to the professional field.
Ming, can you talk a little bit more about the language challenge? What did you do to kind of improve that? Like, did you take any?
So yeah, so while I was doing the surviving jobs, and I'm a pretty open-minded person, I open up a lot, and I don't feel I'm dumb if I ask questions, and I just take every possibility to speak up, to try to learn, ask questions, and of course in the evenings and weekends go to these ES English as a second language classes. All the programs YMCA arranged, I tried, and also there was a program match a family friendship type of program, and you match out one family with another Canadian family, and you make friends and you learn the culture. So all those are very, very important to our like or success in Canada.
You got all the opportunities available to be practicing your not only the
Yeah.
language but also to learn the culture and kind of
Yeah.
fit in, right? That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Umesh.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to see these stories because you can almost resonate with every story here. And if I were to write the challenges similar to Geda, like I could write a book here. So the top one is, of course, the number one challenge is that no one gives you a job. That's the biggest challenge. So no Canadian experience, no references, no Canadian education, and one of the another challenge here is that no driver license, so which restrict your ability to travel. A lack of understanding the culture around the job hunting, because literally I was going door to door and saying, dropping my resumes and then saying, okay, do you have a job? So, the whole approach, understanding the culture, and also the mismatch of the resume and the cover letter. So how are you projecting your skill set in the format which is more in the culture here? How do you craft your resume? How do you craft your cover letters? I mean, these are some of the challenges, but there are numerous challenges which we have faced. And then there's a different strategy goes to address each of this. For example, the no Canadian experience, I would say start immediately. Take whatever job comes in your way so that you have some Canadian experience and a reference which can vouch for you. For the Canadian education, I went for a night school. I talked about the PMAC courses. Started getting the driver license classes. Got my license, which enhanced my ability to travel. Learning the culture is very, very important, and you can understand from the people around you, the co-worker, everybody who comes in your way and who is Canadian or been here longer, give you an opportunity to understand the culture. And lastly, the resume and cover letters. I did use the services of a career center and the settlement services. They did help me with resume and cover letters.
So a question for you all, if any of you had this in mind any moment at any moment during these the struggles, did you ever consider like going back home, like okay, this was not the right decision, I will go back home, things are not working, I know that kind of almost every newcomer going this through the struggles, these come to, it's not that they are going to make that decision, but you start thinking about, was this the right decision? And if so, if that came to your mind, what changed your mind and say, oh no, I'll keep going, I'll keep moving forward? Any of you went through that situation?
Actually, I want to address this question. That thought came to me for first 6 months every night. Okay, so every night when you sleep, you think that why the heck I made that decision? Let's go back. But what keep me going is the sunshine. So every morning when you wake up, the energy is there, because this is a vibrant country, and the some people say this is very cold country because of the weather restriction, everything. I in fact really like it because we have variations, and every day is not a same day. Yes, I would take a warmer weather any day. However, what keeps me going is that you have a family to support, and also the embarrassment of going back to your country, because when you get this immigration hype, you're going to this western country, you wanted to establish yourself, and the thought of going back and telling them that, hey, I failed, which is fine. I mean, there's no harm in acknowledging your failures, but at least try. So I wanted to give myself a good amount of time, at least say few years, to see if I'm able to become successful. If not, definitely then going back is an option.
Yeah, I would like to add to Umesh's points. That's great points, Umesh, and that's very true. I think all of us go through this, especially like at the beginning, as Umesh said, like whenever you hit a challenge or you hit a wall or you have an obstacle, That night you will go to your, like, while like you put your head on your pillow, you will say, oh, what did I do? Did I do the right decision of moving here? Should I go back? And this is at the beginning, as Umesh said. But then you think back and you think, why did you come here? And what was the purpose of you leaving your country, your comfort zone, your country, your family, your support system, and coming here? So when you remember all of the stuff that you've done and the things that you went through to come here, then you say, okay, I gotta make it happen. I took a decision, because I'm sure the decision of moving to a new country is not an overnight decision. We all did a lot of thorough thinking and like thorough steps to come to this country. So all of that effort, you will say, okay, I won't put it to waste, and I really want to make it happen. So that energy and that determination, persistence, used to keep me going. In addition to that, I would really say that Canada is a great country, and I'm sure we all experienced great things here, to see the diversity, to see the opportunities, and the openness, and the ability to really do anything that you really want. Like there's a lot of acceptance and flexibility for everything. So it's a great country, and you really don't want to regret your decision and go back, and then years later to say, why didn't I push further a little bit, right?
Ming, did you go through this or no? Not at all.
Yeah, I did. Even though I'm a very optimistic person, I from time to time I was thinking about that too. And actually, there are several of my friends went back. It's the life choice. So I did, and I'm glad I'm still here. That's all.
Yeah, I think Gaida mentioned something that it's a very interesting. Like every time when you go through these thoughts, um, just just remember the reasons why you came here, and that's basically what I do. um like every now and then, even when you establish your career and things, because um as you all mentioned, like Canada is a great country, but you miss your family, you miss your friends, you miss the food sometimes, all these things, right? So you kind of think about, oh, maybe I should go back, or things like that. But I think, and that's the difference of someone coming here because they really wanna, to build a new life, and someone just, in an adventure, right? Like, it's not what I was expecting. I'll just go back, right? And people that such as yourself, Gaida, and even myself, that I quit like a really really good job back in Brazil to come here, and was like there is no coming back, and I was ready to be like flipping burgers at a McDonald's or whatever for for the rest of my life. You have to kind of come with that mindset, prepare for the worst, hoping for the best. Um, but yeah, so I think this is a very interesting point to discuss, because again, many people go through this type of situations, and again, we have to remember that we are not the only ones, right? Like everybody that is a newcomer, we have these type of thoughts, and my strategy is this: like, it's just to remind me why I came here, and then I think about all the negative things back in Brazil to come here. Not that Brazil is all bad, but the bad things, are things that made me come here. But anyway, so was there any moment that you thought that you were not going to find a job in your field? Because uh, my example, I left the job where I was working for the Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency back in Brazil. So at the beginning, I was trying to find something around that, but I saw that I couldn't, and I end up in a totally different field, but I still use my skills in marketing, for example. Was there any moment that you thought that you're not going to find a job in your field, or even be like work in a different field, or maybe even work in a survival job forever, or something like that? Let's start with Umesh.
Yeah, thank you for this question. You're asking all these questions, which is making me emotional here. There were several moments, not just one. I have a little story to take. I won't take much time. When I came here, obviously everybody is so determined. So I was pretty much determined to get a job in my field only. And so I used to go door to door, as I said, to different companies with my resume to see if they have any opening, and applied for so many jobs. And sometimes people took my resume and sometimes they laughed at it, like, what the heck, like, you're dropping all these resumes here. But no calls from anywhere. So I was pretty disheartened and depressed. And everyone, one day, I went to the night school, and everyone about to leave. So I noticed one lady. I hand over my resume all over the places. Wherever I meet people, I say, do you have a job? This is my resume. So I guess she took a little pity on me on that day. And then she said, like, Umesh, why you look so sad? She was in our course, and I explained the situation to her. I said, look, I'm thinking that I would never get a job in my field. And she said, like, you know what, you have given your resume to me earlier. Can you give me one more time? I'll talk to my supervisor. And that is the moment. Next thing I know, that I received the interview call from that company. It was that one moment that set the wheel in the motion for my career, and I have the opportunity to work for, like, some of the greatest employer, as I said, like, 3 different ministries, 2 municipality, University of Toronto. So the whole moral of the story is to show resilience, build your network, stay connected, and focus on your goal, and never think that you would not get the job in your field. The success will come. You just have to wait for it patiently, and then do the right steps, whatever it required to do it. Okay.
Ming.
Yeah. So there was moments. It's because after you too many no result after the attempts, and there was time you at that moment you feel I won't be able to find a job I was looking for. Anyway, I think the advantage is at the time I was young and I was pretty open-minded, so I don't mind if it takes little bit more time. So that's how it kept me going, and then keep trying and until I get something.
Keida.
Yeah, so I would say I'm a little bit, like, my story is a little bit different, because, like, I was always determined that I want to work in my field, I want to stay in my field, and I am sure that I can find something in my field. Again, as I said, even if I started from scratch, but there's a lot of like, especially in the IT industry, I know that technology is all over the world. You can find technology everywhere. Like, all companies work in technology. So I was sure that there's no shortage of jobs in technology, but I'm sure that I just need to find the right person, the right employer, the right hiring manager to give me that opportunity. So I was always determined, but at the same time, I was very open. So sometimes, like, I used to tell myself, okay, what happens if you don't find a job in IT? So I have to be open. Like, I used to tell myself, you have to be open to start anything, but just give all you can to try to find a job in IT. So maybe the sector that gave me that confidence, because, like, IT is really wide open these days, and, like, every company has an IT department or IT team, right? So that sector, the sector that I am in, gave me that confidence. I was very passionate about it. Until today, I'm very passionate about technology. So I never, like, honestly had that thought that I will not find something in my sector. But I was also very open-minded that, okay, you will find your passion, go for it. And as Umesh said, like, do the right steps, do all that you can, so that you will not regret, or you won't really blame yourself to say, oh, I didn't try enough. But I always was very determined. I was saying, like, in a country like Canada, I am sure that technology jobs are everywhere. I just need to find the right entrance to it. And that determination, actually, I think I keep charging myself with that power. So that determination, that power really kept things, like, working in favor of finding something in my in my field. But what I really would like to say is that I was also, my mindset was very open, that I have a lot of transferable skills, that if it did not work in IT, I can really employ them in so many other sectors or in so many other jobs, and I can work my way through to get to where I want to be.
All right, thank you. So for the next question here is, how important do you consider network in Canada for those new to the country? Ming. Ming, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, so I just unmuted it. I consider networking is extremely important because networking not only allow us to get to know more people, but also opens the doors to learn terminologies in many other fields. It also eventually connect us to the fields we are most interested in. So this is my opinion about the networking.
Umesh.
Yeah, as Ming said, networking is really strong tool. But I wanted to add here is that if it's done properly only, if you do it inappropriately, it could sometime close the door of opportunities. So I encourage everyone to build your network, but be respectful for others' time and advice. Be professional in asking stuff. At some time you may not like the advice you get from the person who you are approaching, but it may help you in the long run. So yes, one side networking is very, very important, but there are some, I would say, unwritten rules about how you engage with people and how you can fully benefit from your network.
Keida.
I agree with both Ming and Umesh. So, my answer will be a blend of both. So, as Ming said, definitely networking is key. It's very important in this country and in every country. Networking is very important in life. You can't really get things done by yourself. You really need support of your neighbors, your society, your friends, your network. So building a system of support is very important in life, and in Canada as a newcomer, it's key, it's very important. And as Omesh said, you gotta do it the right way. And I want to go back to a few points that also Omesh mentioned, and Ming as well. That part of building the network is get blended in the society, like do some education here in Canada. So I did my MBA at Rotman School here at University of Toronto, because I really wanted to build a network. I really wanted to get into the culture, to meet people with different mindsets, to learn from them, from their experiences. And I'm still doing it. Right now, I'm doing my second master's at University of Toronto to get that network going. And to Umesh's point, you really need to do it the right way, because I mentor a lot of students and the newcomers, and I always tell them that you don't really be in the person's face all the time, right? So building a network doesn't mean that you really need always to keep pushing, but to do it the right way, to use the right events, the right occasions to leverage that network and keep building it over time. It's not one time and done, and just to get your purpose and that's it. You really need to keep nurturing your network.
Yeah, I think Ramesh said something that it's really, really interesting. Like networking is important, but only if you do it properly. There is a comment from one of my connections on LinkedIn, because we offer a LinkedIn workshop here through Lutherwood. And I start the workshop with this quote from this connection that I have on LinkedIn, and he's someone that helps newcomers and everything. And he wrote this, and he was basically saying, many people reach out to me today, which is good, and then he was going to put this, which is good, but without a proper LinkedIn profile, like no pictures or a bunch of grammar mistakes on their profile, which is bad. So this person was basically saying, listen, he owns a business, so he can hire people. So you have the opportunity to connect with that person. That person is read your message, read your profile, but your profile, for example, on LinkedIn is totally like a, over the place. So he was saying, this tells me that you're either lazy or incompetent, because like I'm reading, right? Like here's the opportunity, but you're not taking advantage of this opportunity because you're not prepared. So I think Umesh, these point that Umesh mentioned is extremely important. It's like it's the definition of lucky, right? Like that's something also that I share during the workshop. Is like the definition is lucky is when opportunity meets preparation. So sometimes you have the opportunity, but you're not prepared, or sometimes you are prepared, but the opportunity never comes. And the opportunity will come when you're networking with people, right? Because you never know who you're connecting with. So that's a very, very interesting point. Another question is that, yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
jump in? This is Nilüfer here. We have a question
Sure.
from Tasawar. He has a question to Umesh and Gaida, and he is asking, what is the best way to build network? What is the
Okay.
best way to build a network? That's the
So
question that we
Umesh,
have from the audience.
Umesh, go ahead.
Yeah, I will start, and then Geda can add to it. As I said, your association, if you want to have a job in your field, definitely try to build a network through the association. There are a number of free events or webinars, like such as this one. You're get to know of these 3 or 4 individuals who have gone through the career path, which perhaps might resonate with you. So you're building network. And when I came to Canada at that time, I think LinkedIn was not that prominent, but now LinkedIn, everybody, probably all professionals have the LinkedIn account. So you can do the search through it and then see if anybody in your network is linking towards the person you're trying to approach. And as I said, it's overkill. Do it properly. So just a simple example, I get so many LinkedIn requests with no introduction at all, saying, why do you want to join my network? So in my network, there are over 1,500 people, and there are people from deputy ministers to directors, and they're like all professional. And some people are still doing the general labor job. They're still in part of my network because they're part of my mentorship program. So give a little bit of intro. Don't attach a resume and say, here's my resume, let me know if you have a job. Okay, so and the people see a lot of designations in behind my name, and they pick 1 or 2 and say, can you suggest which one is better? So and I often respond back to them and say, a lot of information is available on the website. This is the association, I would say explore it. And next thing, people respond back and say, can you send me the link of the website? So again, you're not helping yourself, you're basically ruining your opportunity here, because you may have all the right skill set, but the way you're approaching and doing is perhaps closing the door on that.
Perfect. That's really cool. Gaida.
That's really very good point, Umesh, and I agree. I'm not going to reiterate what Umesh said. That's very important for building your network. I will say also, as we mentioned in this session, try to do a couple of, or a program, or a couple of programs at any school here, in school, college, university in Canada, because that will let you meet people from all over the world, like immigrants who came here with very different backgrounds, with very successful stories and very inspiring stories as well, and with different years of experience in Canada. So when you go to any program at any of the schools or colleges here, you will find people with 1 year in Canada to like 20, 30 years in Canada, right? So and when you study together, that builds a network as colleagues, as classmates, and leverage that network. So doing any kind of education here will help. The other thing, as Omish said, reach out to people and ask for help. Don't be shy to ask for help, but again, in a right way. And I'll also mention an example, as Omesh said, like a lot of people reach out to me and they send me their resumes. I do a lot of volunteering in reviewing resumes and help newcomers with writing their resumes. But like some people, they send me the resume and say, oh, is it good? But you need to provide that introduction. You need to provide what you're looking for, because like reading it without the context, I really don't know whether it will work for what you're looking for. So like sending it without the context does not help me. Your role is to provide a brief and introduction what you're trying to do, and also to tailor it a little bit so that I can help. Sometimes some people will send you the resume and they are expecting that you will write it for them, not really help with some feedback and some commenting. So I would say do your part when you reach out to the network, and through schools, through your existing job, if you have even like a starting job here, leverage your colleagues, not necessarily in your own team. Reach out to people in other teams if you have a starting career or job here. And definitely, as Umesh mentioned, LinkedIn is, I'm not going to reiterate the message, it's a key tool here.
I wanted to add, Carlos, 2 points here, which is probably going to be helpful for the attendees here. I would say a lot of information is on the internet. How do you use the networking? And also 2 important things which you can search and then try to spend not even like maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour understanding the corporate working culture in Canada and the customer service. So that even the basic etiquettes. So for example, Geda, I also review some of the resumes and provide the feedback, and sometimes I don't even get a thank you back.
So, I know, a lot of times.
So what happened is that the society we are living in, we are kind of self-damaging to our own rights here, because every time you violate a right, there's a new policy comes in. So every time I do a good gesture and nothing comes back, it just makes me feel that, okay, probably I should be stopped doing that. So the society we live in, we have a bigger role to play. I'm not saying that back home is not, we don't have these customer service and everything, but the culture is probably different, right? For example, I lived in India. There are like, billion people living there. So the etiquettes of, over here, if somebody coming behind you, you're opening the door and you're holding the door until that person goes off. If I were to apply the same rule in India, probably the whole day I must be holding the door, because there are so many people going, right? So there's a cultural difference. So try to understand that and learn from that and apply in your networking.
Yeah, and Carlos, and if you don't mind, one more point, I think
yeah, sure, go ahead.
touch on it is to build your network, also volunteering. Like, let's say you did not find a job, you're still not able to find a job. Maybe it's not the right time to start school or university for so many reasons. Like maybe you're still trying to establish yourself here. So volunteering is also a great tool to build a network. So look at events in your neighborhood, events in your area where you live, events in your area of expertise. So see what skills you have and you can give back to the society, give to your community, your neighborhood, your professional community, and volunteer in those events. This will help to first show your skills and to build a network. So volunteering is always an option if you still don't have a job or you can't really start school right away as soon as you come to the country.
That's great. I just want to add something about LinkedIn, and also how people people are very it's very easy to access people here using LinkedIn. Like Gaida and Umesh, for example, we connected through LinkedIn. Ming was someone that was introduced by another person that I connect on LinkedIn. And it's interesting that here, for example, I'm connected with CEOs of companies, the mayor. Even I had a meeting with a former mayor of Waterloo some like 2 years ago. I just sent a message to her and said, I would like to discuss this, blah, blah, blah. And then we had a coffee, and then this would never happen in Brazil. because these high people like directors, CEOs, oh my God, you don't reach to these people. Like you talk to their secretary, and if this happened one day, but here people are very accessible. You can even reach to the prime minister, and you might get an answer. So don't be shy to reach out to people. But again, as Umesh pointed, and I think that was a really valuable advice, be do it properly. Otherwise you'll be, instead of promoting yourself, you're going to be ruining your that relationship that could be fruitful for you. So Gator mentioned about volunteering. Did you have any other, like Umesh or Ming, did you have any experience volunteering as well, or no, not at all at the beginning? Now I know that you volunteer as mentors and stuff, but at the beginning, did you have any experience volunteering or no?
So I would start here.
Okay.
I wish I had known that what is the importance of volunteering at that time. I did not know, and I didn't do very good job in volunteering in the initial years, which definitely I regret now. But as soon as you start doing volunteering, it brings you so many opportunities, and it's also give you a satisfaction that what are you, I mean, everybody can live for themselves, like you're selfish and you're just working for your own good, but are you devoting some time to your field, your community? And volunteering doesn't mean that it has to be in your field only. The life is full of lessons, and you can learn it from anybody and everywhere. Wherever you go, there's a lesson comes with it. So even if you not become successful, that's a lesson what not to do so that you don't become successful, right? In your failures, there are inbuilt lessons too.
Ming.
Yeah, so I actually started volunteering in Canada pretty early. As soon as I had a job, I had my life is pretty settled down, and I started volunteer with victim services of Wall region, and I volunteered there for 8 years, and then right now I started after that I started volunteer with Project Management Institute 4 years ago, and I was a VP of social media, and then I was director of marketing communication, and I will be the upcoming president for the chapter. So I say volunteering, these volunteer roles not directly impact my career, I would say, but it totally broaden my view on the community, broaden my network, and make lot of friends. So I highly recommend, if anyone has time to volunteer, please do.
That's great. I have a question here that I find really interesting. If you could give some advice to yourself when you first arrived in the country, having the experience you have now, what would be the most important advice? Let's start with Gada.
That's a very good question, actually. So I think we talked a lot about it, but also I will go back to it. It's building my network. So maybe at the beginning, I was focused on finding a job, on settling down. The networking wasn't in my radar at the time. Yes, I started networking and I built my network, but I would say that wasn't from the time I started. So looking back and thinking of when I first came here, I think if I started networking also the right way, as Amish mentioned, early on, maybe I would have also expedited some of the steps in my career. So, but because when we first come, as you said, Carlos, sometimes we're shy, sometimes because we come from different backgrounds, different cultures, so we think that, oh, like maybe I will, it's not easy to build a network, it's not easy to start networking, or we think that we will be rejected, because always our self-talk, unfortunately, it's negative self-talk. It's like, oh, they might not accept my invitation, or oh, they might not. So if I would go back, I would work more on networking, because that, I'm sure now after like building a great network, it would have expedited my path here even more.
Ming.
I think if I want to do something different, maybe don't lower the expectation because we are new to the country. That was something I didn't do well. I started survival job right away, and that wasn't good things from today when I look back. And we all need to be flexible for the change. And I strongly feel everyone should be able to continue their career in their professional field based on the knowledge and experience from the home country. So we don't really need to start from scratch, and we just need to make some adjustment. And after learning about this Canadian culture and community, so that's what I would suggest for the people really new to Canada.
Umesh.
Yeah, if I were to rewind my life, I would pick a country which is closer to India and a warmer weather. I mean, the jokes apart, I don't regret my decision, but number of steps which I took after coming to Canada could have been done even when I was in India. Like, completing my ICAS assessment, you could do it from India, or wherever you are coming from. Do your research about the job market. So I started doing research when I landed here. You could do the research when you're back home and try to upgrade your skill set wherever possible. All the legwork, sharpening your resume, cover letter, start connecting with people and building network. And then, as Ming said, lowering your expectation. Yes, I'm not saying that for forever, but at least there's a connection between your expectation and the reality. And sometime when the reality hits, you're not prepared for it. If someone already tells you that these are the stuffs you may face, your mind is kind of prepared for that, and then you may be open for us to start any kind of job to have a kickstart of your career.
Great. So I have till we finish here, there is a question here. I don't know, Nilufar. Let me see here. What's the best way to prepare the resume, having the probability to get an interview? I have had a help from different sources, but without any positive results. This is an interesting question. I've attended an event when I first came to, like, I think it was my first year. I was still living in Toronto, and there was an HR person making a presentation. She was asking like, okay, who here had like applied for 10 jobs and didn't get any response? And then everybody rose their hands. 50 jobs, 100 jobs, and almost everybody in the audience saying that. And then she said, well, if you're applying for 100 jobs and you're not getting back any calls or any emails, you are doing something wrong, and you're keep doing wrong and expecting a different result, right? Like if you apply for 100 jobs and you're not getting back any calls, there is something wrong. And I think another thing that we have to keep in mind, and going back to a comment, I think it was Umesh that made this comment about people reaching out to, let's say on LinkedIn and asking for jobs right away. Here's my resume, can you find me a job, and things like that. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that employers are hiring people out there, or hiring you, because they need to make, let's say, more money, right? Or they have to keep their revenue growing. They are not making you a favor. They are hiring you because of your skills, right? Or because of the benefits of that you might offer to the organization. So I think one thing that we have to have in mind is that when you're reaching out to potential employers, managers, and things like that, you have to position yourself in a way that the people will see the value of having you working for their organization, and reaching out and say, hey, do you have a job for me? That's not the right approach, right? But if you can give an advice in terms of a resume, What is that thing that I think most some of you, I don't know if you are in a hiring position, or if you are in a hiring position, what are the things that you hate the most that people put on their resume, and you would advise to avoid at all costs? Gada, go ahead.
So the thing that I hate the most is that people try to do a brain dump on their resume, to write and list everything that they've done in their whole life, and and sometimes I find that people copy and paste from the job description and then they just dump it on their resume. So it will make it lengthy, crowded, and not really helpful, and does not really add value to the hiring manager. I really think what helps is for the candidate to read thoroughly the job description. Unfortunately, some people don't even read the job description. They read the title and then they submit the resume. So title, submit. Read thoroughly the job description and see, even if you're not exactly working in that role or used to work in that role, see what key skills that you have them and they are transferable to that role, and add them to your resume. And I always tell my mentees that applying for a job is a full-time job. Why? Because you have to tailor your resume for every job post that you apply to. So if I apply for 10 roles today, I will update my resume 10 times, because I really need for each job to focus on the key skills that are relevant to that job. So what I really hate when I receive resumes usually is that people don't even spend the time to tailor it to fit that role. You do have the skills, you do have the knowledge, but they just use one resume and submit it to all different kinds of roles, and they do a brain dump. So a resume is not really a brain dump. It is a 2 to maximum 3 pages with relevant experience. So my advice to all attendees here: read thoroughly the job description and write the key points that are relevant to that job description. You don't really have to write everything just to show the hiring manager that you worked all of these years and experience.
Mig.
I would say, please highlight the achievements. That's critical, because people want to see what you have achieved and what result you have bring to the what type of value you bring to the organization. So that's my main point here.
Yeah, I heard someone saying about like if you can measure, right, like your success. So, for example, as you mentioned during your introduction, right, I mean, like you mentioned about 500 million, whatever, blah blah blah. So if you can measure those your activities is something that might um, give more add value to your resume and experience, right? Umesh.
Yeah, so I think I agree with whatever Geda and Ming said. Is bang on. I what frustrates me the most is that people send, I think, just like 1 or 2 resume they make, and they use the same resume for every single job they apply, and then they say that, okay, I applied for 100 and I didn't get any response back. So a resume, when I scan the resume for the job posting, most, I would say, 30 to 50 seconds on one resume. So are you able to grab my attention within that time frame? It's not that I don't want to spend more time. I don't have it. So one position comes and there are 500 resume comes, that's still filtered through the system, and the system gives me, say, top 50. So all of those 150 people or 400 people are already not in the list, because by virtue of they're not taking the time to understand the DNA of the job. So I'll give you an example. So this is the phone, okay? And this is the charger used for this phone. If I try to use a different charger, it's not going to work. So it doesn't matter how many people would come back to me and say, look, use the Samsung charger for the Apple phone. It's going to work great and it's going to save your battery and blah, blah, blah. But again, the charger I need is the Apple charger. So are you Apple chargers? Show me that, and then you don't have to sell too much to me. So that's the nutshell.
That's a good example.
And Carlos, if you don't mind, I'll give an example
Sure.
from one of the mentees that I mentored through your program as well. So I worked with a newcomer through your program, and she was looking for a job, and she's very successful. She managed to land her first job in Canada in a couple of months, right from the time that the mentorship program started. And I would say the way we work together is that for every job post, I mentored her and I helped her to, like, my instructions or my helping steps were like, pick the three roles that, like, look for jobs in the various job websites, pick the top three, and in our mentorship session, come prepared with 3 different resumes for each one of those roles. So my coaching for her was go through the job description very thoroughly, tailor your resume, and then bring it to our session. We'll go through it together. So the work of tailoring the resume to the job description, but also being truth about it, like mentioning the skills that she has. Like, if you don't have the skill, it's okay, don't mention it. But whatever skills they mentioned and you have them, mention them. So we tailored like 3 different resumes. And I would say she applied for the 3 roles. She got calls and interviews for the 3 of them. And she interviewed for the 3 roles. She ended up picking up the one that most she felt more passionate about the role, but she got interviews for the 3 and offers for 2 out of the 3. And it's very simple steps. Read the job description, tailor it to the job description, then apply and do the follow-up.
That's a great example, Gaida. I would like to say also that instead of going for quantity, stick with the quality, right? So instead of being applying for 100 jobs at the same time, pick those that you say, okay, these are the jobs that I really want, and try to understand, as Ming said, Umesh said also, like understand the culture of the company. They have like social media, a bunch of stuff out there that you can learn what they are doing and things like that. Because once you get the interview and you mention, oh, I've seen that you guys are also expanding to whatever country, let's say, I just read on the news. And so the whoever is interviewing you, you understand like, okay, this person did the homework, right? Like I was researching about the company, what we do and everything. So I think, again, if you aim for the quality instead of the quantity, and our supervisor always says like many people, they use this strategy like a spray and pray, like you shoot your resume everywhere and then you expect that something is going to happen, right? And it's not like that. Stick with the quality.
So we have another one from the same person.
Last question. Oh, we have also Polly with a question. So let's do these 2 questions and then we wrap up. Go ahead.
Perfect. So Xulanam is wondering if one of the panelists can take a look at his resume and give some feedback or advice how to improve it, because the person is trying to tailor his resume according to the job description, because he knows that the most of the companies look for the keywords. So he's wondering if any of the panelists can take a look at the resume and just give some feedback. This is the first question from Selena. And the second question from Polly is, what strategies do you recommend for follow-up after you submit job applications?
Okay, so let's start with, is there anybody here that would help Shiloning on the resume? Anybody?
Yeah, so I can definitely take a look at the resume and provide the feedback, no issues, but do not expect me to write the resume for you. I'm going to be setting the expectation here very clearly, because if there are people who provide that kind of services, some are free, some are paid. Like, the settlement services provide a lot of free resume building, editing services. But definitely I can take a look and provide you some feedback that what are the things perhaps you may have to work on, and depending upon your expertise in the field, I may be adding some value and I may not be able to provide you the feedback because I might not know the DNA of that stream, whatever your field is. That's so I'm happy to do that.
Great, thank you, Umesh. And also to remind that we offer services at Lutherwood. You can reach out to us, and in case you are not a client, Lutherwood is an employment service. It's free, so you can reach out to us, and we can help you with that. But we will connect you with Umesh as he is open to help you. Ming, do you have any recommendations to follow up after submit a job application?
Yeah, so for the follow-up, I think nice because many people not directly responding to this follow-up, but we still, as the just courtesy, we still do that to show our interest and desire to work. I think if you have the official contact, of course, you go through that and you at least try 2 or 3 times because people are busy. If you don't have the direct contact, do some research, LinkedIn or something website, and send a thank you letter and let people know you are trying to reach to them, and people will notice and appreciate that. Even though sometimes you might not get a direct answer because maybe some change in the hiring process or the position has been changed, but they remember this or somebody reach out to me. So every effort get paid off in the end. So just don't get discouraged and do the way properly. Yeah.
I think it's a kind of a sales process, right? Meaning it's like you're gonna do your part, but sometimes people will not get back to you. They'll just ignore, and you just move on, right? Like you just go to the next one.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
so you can't get that someone ignoring you as too personal. Otherwise, you get depressed.
Exactly.
Umesh.
I wanted to add here something, and it's a little bit different in government sector because we are very structured in the hiring. So if you understand the process, so for example, you apply for the job, and then the job closing date is say after say 2 weeks from now, and then you through the system generated email, it tells you that thank you for applying. Should your skill set and the experience matches with the job, someone will contact you. So do not do a follow-up. We have already told you that, as I said, one job opening, probably 1,000 people apply. It would not be practically feasible for us to respond back to those 1,000 follow-ups. So, but if you get the interview call, by all means, follow-up is important. Be respectful of the process. You can always ask, what is the process here? So if you get through the interview and they say, you can always ask, like, what is the timeline for you to make a decision here? There's nothing wrong in asking that. So the hiring manager or HR might tell you that, say, you may hear from the city or the government within the, say, 3 weeks time. Wait for the 3 weeks time. If you do not hear anything, do a courtesy follow-up. And I hate sometimes when people do the follow-up and then they say, okay, I was interviewed for this is this, and I will be calling you on Friday 3 o'clock. Okay, so that's like, a little bit too much. So try to do a follow-up in the structured format, just so you are interested, and every time you do a follow-up, make sure that you're expressing how your skill set and experience going to benefit the company. So yes, it's about you want the job, but at the same time, as Carlos mentioned, there's a job for a specific reason and a purpose. As long as you stay close to the purpose and the reason, I'm sure the success will come to you.
Before we go to Geda, Umesh, can you explain also about because this is interesting because you are from the public sector and we have Ming and Geda from the private sector. One thing that we know from the private sector is that let's say I apply for a job and then I reach out to someone on LinkedIn that works for that company and I say, hey, I just applied for this job. That's how I got my first job here in Canada. I just sent a message to someone that was working for the company. The person replied to me, gave me the email of the manager. I sent my resume. I got the interview and I got the job. But this is different from for the public sector, right? Like, let's say there is a job at the city of Vaughan, and then I apply and I reach out to you to kind of get a shortcut or something to the manager.
Yeah.
How this work for the public sector?
Okay, that's a very good question. It's $1 million question you asked me. So there is a right and a wrong way of doing that. So I'll tell you the right way. So for example, if, and most organizations are using LinkedIn to attract the talent and the recruitment process. So if that organization, for example, any government is posting, and usually there's an HR contact or somebody who's posting that job, or even the hiring manager want to promote and then attract the new talent there. If they are doing it and saying, look, guys, we are looking for this position, and they're just doing a marketing, right? At that time, it's a golden opportunity to do it right. If you have somebody in the network, by all means, use your network to reach out, not for asking for an interview, not for asking for a job, rather to express your interest. So you can express it, and I also do that sometimes, when I'm looking for an opportunity or something, and I think that's how I reach out to Carlos. I express my interest. I'm not dumping something on them. I'm saying, look, I see your LinkedIn post, so I would say, XYZ, I saw this position, it excites me for XYZ reasons, and these are some of the, don't attach your resume, maybe pick top 5 and say these are some of the stuff I will be bringing to the position, and respect the competition hiring process. Just say, I'm looking forward to compete for this position. That tells them that you're not trying to shortcut the process, rather because there is a position posted, and through the LinkedIn, you're acknowledging and you're expressing the interest there. So that's the right way of doing it. The wrong way of doing it, I think we all know, we all do it. That government has not used the LinkedIn or something, they're just posting on their website. You don't know who is the hiring manager, but somehow you're trying to find the hiring manager, and then you're trying to send the email and saying, look, I applied for the job, please give me an interview. That means that's a recipe for failure. So don't do that, at least in government sector. That's a no-no, because we are upheld to the standards of open, fair, transparent hiring process.
Yep.
So if you know me and you're trying to have an offline conversation with me, it's actually creating a conflict of interest for me, because I am the hiring person and you're trying to have this connection with me. If I have posted on LinkedIn, by all means, express your interest, I already told you. But if you are not in my contact and somehow my name is not even listed in the position, why are you contacting me? Because that means you are trying to jeopardize the whole hiring process. So I'll leave it there.
Great, awesome. Keida.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that Ming and Umesh and yourself also, Carlos, you've all said like very, very important tips. I would say also in big organizations, even in the private sector, we do have a process as well, like all private sector organizations, the big organizations, they have a structured process. So to Umesh's point, know the process and don't start the follow-up until you are contacted, because there is already an established process within any organization. And once you're contacted, this is an indication from the organization that there is an interest in your skills. And once the HR, and usually it's the HR person who will do the hiring manager won't really start or kick off the process. It's always the HR recruiting team within any organization who will kick off the process. So I would say once you are contacted with the HR, give the process its time. Be aware of the end date for that role, because only after the end date of that post, this is when the HR person will start looking at all of the applications and start to filter them for the hiring manager. So once they reach out to you, give them a couple of days, or it depends on how long their process is. Understand from them how long and the timeline for each step, and based on that, do the follow-up. And I would say 2 important tips. One is the title of your follow-up email. It's very important to list the job post number and the position, because sometimes we got follow-up emails with the name, right? So like Guide Nassar. And like as a recruiter or like HR person, like I don't really remember a name from like thousands of resumes that I get for each job post, because like each HR person would post multiple posts for the organization.
Yeah.
So it's important to mention the job post number and the title that you are applying for. So the title of the email, the subject should be very clear. And the other thing that a common mistake that I see people do is that they reach out to multiple people in the organization. So like, come on people, we work together, we talk internally. So people talk internally, and we know like this person is trying to reach all over the place to so many people. I would say have one contact, which is the HR person who contacted you, and keep that relationship very respectful, very professional, and the follow-up should be with that single contact person, unless they told you otherwise. For follow-up, please contact this person. But I see people that try to reach out to 5, 6 people in the same team, but we talk internally. So really like be respectful of people's time, because that might work against you.
All right, so we are running out of time. It's almost 11 here. I would like to thank Gaida, Umesh, and Ming for being part of this panel today. It was very, very informative. I think we have reached the goals of this webinar, which was, you know, give a perspective to people that are starting their job searching, trying to establish their career. They have so many questions, and also all these things that we're going through, the pandemic and all the challenge that we have to face as a newcomer. It's always good to have these positive, you know, examples. And of course, the do's and not do's. It's always good to have these in mind. Again, this webinar will be available to anybody after. I'm gonna send a link of this webinar so you can access anytime. Once again, Lutherwood is an employment services. So in case you are not a client of Lutherwood, and if you live in the region of Waterloo or Guelph, please reach out to us. So we'll be able to assist you in helping you with your resume, your job search, and so on. And if you are a newcomer to Canada, we have a specific program for you as well. Okay, so I don't know if any of you want to, you know, say the last words before we close our webinar.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I sincerely enjoyed our discussion today. I see a number of participants attended. By all means, reach out to me through LinkedIn. Do have a picture, because I have my picture there. I want to know who is coming in my network, and I welcome the opportunity to expand my network, because anybody who is coming in my network is part of a family too, because we are helping each other, especially during the COVID-19 time. There are so many people who has lost their jobs, or they're looking for some motivation. So happy to connect and contribute wherever I can.
Okay, Deb.
Yeah, so Carlos, I would like to start by thanking you very much for having us today. And thank you very much for my co-panelists. Like, I really enjoyed your stories, and I was inspired as well by your stories. And thank you for all the attendees who spent time to listen to our stories and to our do's and don'ts today. And I would say for everybody who's attending us today, always think positive, and like, although there's always challenges in life, but always think positive. Keep your target like very laser focused on your target, and stay focused on why you are here, why you came here, what you're trying to achieve, and it will happen. And I will remind you all that success does not come to us. We go to it always.
Ming.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I just want to mention again about the volunteering. I volunteer for the Project Management Institute, and we are the 100% volunteer-run nonprofit organization. If anyone want to volunteer, we have place for you.
Great. All right. So thank you very much for everybody to participate today. We really appreciate. Again, if you need our help, please reach out to Lutherwood. And well, that's it. Thank you for coming and have a good day. Okay. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.